Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io, and today Jack wants to do a rapid fire. So we're gonna do rapid on it.
Hey, muy rápido. That's right. Hey, Jeremy. Let's do a rapid fire. We've got 12 questions that cover the gauntlet of outbound lead gen, emails,
Faster,
multi-channel,
Jack, faster.
deliverability, personalization, all that. But since this is a
You
rapid
didn't
fire,
even say who you were. Come on, for
I
new
did.
release. Oh,
I
you
did.
Damn it. All right.
Yeah.
Too bad. Anyway, let's do it.
That's okay. But since this
When
is
it
a
goes
rapid
fast,
fire,
I'm
I'm going to
lost.
do. I'm going to do a rapid fire. This is brought to you by Thing. SalesBread will help you generate one lead per day. Go to salesbread.com. Jeremy, you want to do your one super rapid?
Awesome, cool email software, quickmail.io. Free overwhelmer.
Let's get started. Jeremy, question one is, what is the shortest cold email that is worth sending?
One that gets you a good reply, a positive reply. Is that kind of lame answer?
That's like, now go off into a cave and meditate on that for a month. No, I think the shortest in terms of word count would be any interest ? And then a video link.
Ooh.
Right? So it's 2 words and a link. That's probably worth sending if the video is awesome.
I like it. I will also probably say, if you don't like sending image and just text, I'll probably say something along the lines that, problem with whatever ? Interested in chatting, and then that's it, kind of thing. If your brand is recognized, right? Like say, for example, I don't know, Stripe or whatever contacts you, you could get away with that. Like, when we looked at AppSumo one was like, 800,000 entrepreneurs. Are you interested in talking ? For your SaaS. I think that works very well. Same thing for when trying to sell, buy a business. Are you interested in discussing about selling your business ? That's good enough, and that's one-liner. That's really all you need most of the time if you nail it.
And you have brand recognition. Okay, next question. Does email length impact my deliverability? Let's turn to you, Jeremy. Yes or no?
Yes, it does. It does. And I would say it's kind of like a funny thing compared to the previous question. If you put it too short, then you're put at a disadvantage.
Because
and especially if you do your tactic about like just a link or just an image, that you could be penalized for that.
Mm-hmm. But if there's no links, no images, pure plain text,
then that's okay.
You're okay. All right. Next question. Is it bad to track opens on every email? I'll take this one. Yes, for the answer we just covered.
That's right.
So the shorter, the more of a reason you might not want to track it. A lot of times we don't track the first touch. So anything to add to that?
No. Well, actually, I would say put it on a second touch if your follow-up include the first email. That way your text is bigger and adding an image is not so big a deal, especially when it's a small one or a small link. It's not so much of a bigger deal. Plus the spam filter will know you already sent an email.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Should I be posting content on LinkedIn to improve my outbound results? Now, this is a reference to a comment one of our guests made a couple of weeks back saying, I check everyone out on LinkedIn that emails me to vet them, right? So I will say your LinkedIn profile should be fully written up. And if you've got a couple pieces of good content, it just has to check is this person a pro or not filter. I do not think you should be doing hardcore LinkedIn brand building content unless that's absolutely one of your long-term plays. Don't do it to help your outbound results.
Yeah, I would also say that, we're only as good as our last activity on our feed. So if you're really thinking about that, be conscious about your action, because people will only check your last activity or maybe the last 2. They won't check the whole history of our last months of activity.
It's a good point. And this is a rapid fire. Let's move it along. What is a common mistake people make with subject lines? I got one. I got one. I think people make them too long. I'm going to say that's the most common one. If a subject line is super lengthy, I'm like, that's a lot of detail. Does this person, they have a reason that they need to explain themselves so in depth?
Yeah, they didn't have
Puts
time.
me on my defenses. Yeah, right.
Didn't have time to
What do you-
write
what
a
do you add?
shorter one. Yeah. I say basically clickbaiting or out of sync with your body. Like you say something, suggest something in your email, in your subject line, and you realize the content of the email has pretty much nothing to do or is kind of at odds. Then I won't trust you. It won't.
Shame on them.
Yeah,
Shame on
absolutely.
them. Okay, my friend. I'm getting good results with outbound email alone. Should I bother with multi-channel outreach too?
Ooh, what do you answer this one, Jack?
I am going to say that if you're having good results with email, congratulations, enjoy it, make the most out of it, and you may not need to change anything up until you need to change something up. So meaning if you are filling your sales team's pipeline and they have more leads to handle, why would it be appropriate to add even more to that? If you find yourself in the common scenario where it's like, hey, more leads would be pretty good, then yes. But for the individuals that are getting happy results with cold email, rock and roll in the free world.
All right. Slightly different approach. I say, even if you're getting good results, it may turn that tomorrow something could happen. So as an idea of a backup, I would say explore it. Don't necessarily throw all your resource at it, but spend 10% of your time experimenting, whether it's a new type of outreach, whether it's a new channel, but don't underestimate the amount of time and effort it takes to effectively go properly, and that's the key word, properly multi-channel. Right, you're gonna need different data source. They're gonna need to be all okay. So you can't really have a prospect that has good emails, but somehow the LinkedIn is wrong or some stuff like that, or the phone call is wrong if you go for phone, because you may end up.
So
sorry, I'm cutting you off here on this one. I
that's
just want to
okay.
finish my idea. It may be that you untapping a better channel, but just don't underestimate the amount of time it takes. And if you're not having success yet with cold email and you're just trying it, then I say keep at it until you effectively reach this level where it's good.
And course.quickmail.io will take you there.
Good one. Good one.
This episode is brought to you by the course that Jeremy and I put way too many hours in making videos, walkthroughs, examples, screenshots, copies, swipe files, all the stuff that you need to actually make cold email work for your company.
That's right.
Okay. I will make one modification to your answer, Jeremy.
Okay.
I think 1 is the most dangerous number for a business.
That's right.
Right. We need redundancies. So the founder who has a nice little SEO source of leads humming along might not need to also look at another channel if they're doing cold email well and organic lead gen well.
It's very fair.
You're kind of covered. Yeah. So it's for the person that 1 is the most dangerous number. Okay. That was very good. Okay. So next question. I just bought a list, even though everyone says it's a bad idea. Is there a decent way I can use it for outbound? Okay, so let's unpack why it's a bad idea. So we've explored this as a rapid fire. It's a bad idea. At the best case, this list has been sold many times. Even if the data is perfect, they've been hit up quite hard. Okay, so there's that. There could be spam traps in that email list that if you send to it, you're going to get put on a famous blacklist that is going to harm your deliverability. And then it flat out may not make you some money. That's like kind of the 3 big don't do this kind of stuff. Am I missing something obvious, Jeremy?
Yeah, it could be stale. You know, the list you need to verify.
Perfect. The data could be old.
Yeah,
great.
Data could be old. Right. It usually is anyway, honestly.
Right. Usually is. Okay. So what you can do, since we're focusing on using this list for outbound, certainly clean it again, because a good tool we like Never Bounce is going to remove some spam trap emails. It'll triple check that the people still monitor that inbox. They weren't fired or let go or changed jobs 10 years ago, whatever. So freshen it up. You're going to lose about 40% of that list, probably, depending how old it is. And then I wouldn't even really care about the individuals on that list. I would use it to identify companies. So there's a reason you bought the list. What is it about the companies that a lot of times there's a trade show list. These people attended. Okay, great. I would just take the accounts from that list and go and find your own individuals that you know are the right titles and are still working there, etc.
And you could
and
do
throw
an
the other stuff away.
filter. So it could be they attended this conference, but you want people, companies with between,
Correct.
plus or whatever.
Yeah. And the soundbite is buy list for nothing but the account data, and then go and find your own point people at
Not
those
bad.
accounts. Okay, next. You wrote this question. I'm going to throw it to you as soon as I read it, Jeremy. It says, going for agency/freelancer, how much should I buy each lead?
I don't know. Well, it's interesting.
What is this like? What's the cost per lead?
Yeah, the cost per lead is actually varying per agency quite drastically in my experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it goes from, you got people charging you $7 leads to people charging you $50 leads to people charging you, $200 leads or whatever. I think at the end of the day, you have to make the math and make sure it works for you. I personally don't like this type of model on a per lead basis because it makes things
so you have to vet, is that really a lead, right? Each one.
Yeah, and then you have this conversation with the agency,
yeah.
and it's not that great. Personally, I don't like this model.
But yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate range. It can go from 10 to, if it's a set appointment for like top brass at big companies, you might be paying $500 and up per lead. I'd say it ranges from 5 to 500, and then you can add an extra 0 depending who you're going after.
Yeah, I think at this stage it's more or less people doing introduction, right? It's no more, cold emails sort of leads for, right? It'd be, hey, can you hook me up with the president of whatever, association?
It's like a partnership thing.
That's right.
Sure. Okay, so rapid fire. Let's carry on. Should every cold email start with a compliment like kudos on or big fan of? No, absolutely not. So if
start with an insult.
Yeah. So a compliment is one avenue. You have commonality is another avenue that's really powerful. So this liking principle, we like people similar to us. We want to do business with those that are like us. So if you both speak Japanese, that's maybe better than a better compliment. Yeah. And then the last one is a question. Sometimes if I learn that they just published a book on public speaking, for example, you might start like, hey, you're probably the right person to ask what's the kind of best tip for getting over your fear of public speaking. You see, so it's CCQ, compliment, commonality, question.
Right. I'm wondering if we could just not use any weapon of influence, or like reciprocity, like, hey, find your email, kind of wanted to give you that right away, and then whatever, maybe, I don't know. But in principle, you should be able to use any of those weapon of influence as a first line. It doesn't have to be just flattery. People start to see that more and more, by the way. Like whenever I receive those things like, hey, big fan of quick mails, like, I don't believe it for a second,
Yeah, it has to be specific. I tell my team specific. If it can be applied to anyone else on this list, it's bad. Right. So I love quick mail's auto warmer feature. Thanks for making this free to the community.
Oh man.
Why is that better? It's because it's specific and it doesn't apply to anyone else on that list, right?
And it's
so
true.
Let's and it's true. Look at this. Shameless plugs left and right. Next question. Can I succeed in cold email even if I am not consistent in my efforts? No. Next question.
I'd say yes, but you have to be knowing where the consistency apply. So for example, I'm terrible at doing the prospecting consistently. I'm good at following leads, but I'm terrible at doing good at following leads with quote unquote. I mean, the first reply. But I would say get someone else to do it. So you can succeed. Like, for example, your agency doesn't need to do from A to Z, like selling someone and so on. It could be just doing the outreach or just doing the prospecting. Try to find someone who can bring this sort of predictability in your pipeline if you can't actually just, provide deliverability on everything, I would say. So you could still, but
yeah,
it will be harder.
And for me, I think it depends what you define success as. Can you have a home run and take a year off? Yeah, you could. And we'll get to that in our last question here about total monies made from a cold email. But if you really want the channel to be profitable over the long term, it's kind of this thing that requires consistency in my book. The only exception being you're trying to sell your company, you're trying to buy a company, and it's like a one and done process. Then forget consistency, because as soon as you hit it, you don't need to worry about it. But
That's right.
for the rest of us, you need to be consistent. 2 more questions. I'm a lead gen agency. Should I use cold email to acquire clients? Let's see, if you're listening to this and you're wondering, no, just use SEO. SEO will help you out. Yeah. And
Well,
in the meantime, the agency sending cold emails will be, well, doing the business, and you can have fun with content. I don't know.
Well, here's a good question is, do you think people, do you think clients of lead generation agencies search on Google for lead generation agencies, or do you think they get contacted, or do you think they search for referrals? So I guess
I know for a fact that both outcomes happen, being the recipient of both kinds of leads, those that reply to our outbound and those that find us thanks to good old Google. But what's very interesting is my assumption before we got into any sort of content activities was an inbound lead will always be easier to close than an outbound lead. And that's not the case. A lot of times when people see the level of personalization that we do, that's not using the AI tools that are clearly a little bit off, somebody's brain dead writing that, or is having a mild concussion. It's interesting because it's like, I don't even need you to reply in order to show you how capable we are. Right. Just opening the message, as we're good at deliverability, and reading that first line says that we can hook you. And by the time you finish reading that cold email, you know if we just blew you away or not. So they kind of already get it. And with inbound, you kind of have to show them that process. Point is, you should use cold email to acquire clients. Why not? You're already good at it. I think it's good practice. Hypothetically.
I think it's also good practice. It forces you to actually get results for yourself and for your clients. So I think it's good practice, no matter what.
Boom shakalaka. Last question. What's the largest dollar amount that you've won through a cold email?
Shall I go? Do you want to go?
Yeah, but mine, I'm not so sure that I'm the fair person to talk about this, because I get to do this for clients that, well, let's face it, are selling something more valuable than I could have made, if that makes sense, right? Like
Viagra?
Viagra. Not quite. I was a part of a $22 million deal that a client of ours won in 2019, and that's the highest thing I've ever seen. And
all from a cold email.
It was all from a cold email, and I'll tell you a kind of a bit of a backstory with this. I will leave the account and the client nameless. We did some NDA stuff, and it doesn't matter. But the point is, they were going after a Fortune 100, and after the first couple calls with the company, the point person pulled my client aside and they said, I have to tell you why I replied to your message. And think like this is Elon Musk number 2, right? That's a good way to think about it. This person gets a lot of cold emails. So what they said was, and again, this is for a $22 million deal. They said, every time I get a cold email, I put it into a particular folder and I don't look at it. But when my company or my team is in a purchasing decision, or like, I'm kind of the innovation guy, so I want to know what's the newest shit out there. He says he does a query in that cold email folder for a keyword. So let's say they're looking at anti-gravity boots. our email had anti-gravity boots in it, right? And I'm making up the phrase, but he read the email, liked what he saw, and called our client. So
Nice.
it was weird. It was like a second filter on it. But thankfully there was enough social proof in the email to get that first call and to make a bunch of money. So I'm happy about that one.
That's awesome. How many questions did we manage to do rapid fire before we started like elaborating on a huge story?
12.
Man, we almost made it. No, that was an awesome story. I'm glad you actually shared it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to looking at the past. I'm always looking at the future, what I should do. So the only thing I would say is in the last months, we closed a client for 5K a month, which is just a cold email. And that came out of the blue.
That's nice.
And it's always nice to hear. And, we had also a lot of other clients, but I never remember if it was like word of mouth, cold outreach, or something, organic traffic.
True.
So, I'm just happy whenever whatever we got. So there you go.
I have to plug, was that a sales spread lead, Jeremy?
It was a sales spread lead.
Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. I couldn't resist. Thanks for a short, not so short, rapid fire. Good conversation nonetheless.
All right. Awesome, Jack. Thanks for the call.
See you next time, Jeremy.